are already beating the drums of war. Today, the Pentagon refuted that claim. And he said the American people do not want him to, quote, dwindling, they do not want him dwindling his thumbs. You can get a gig as a contortionist. Intravenous fluids and pills coated with gelatin. We don't leave our women or men in uniform behind. It's a monument to the hubris of Dick Cheney. Representative Raul Labrador. Years of abuse. I personally apologize to Mr. Peebles. Just ask to soon-to-be former Congressman. Democrats are outright jitty. CIA's counterterrorism center. Veteran Affairs Secretary Shinseki. Why do I always mess up his name? Shinseki. I love my critics. I have fun with that.
Politics Nation with the Reverend Al Sharpton starts right now. Good evening, Rev.
Good evening, Dr. Dyson.
But wait, there's more.
And we will much about that be committed. So there's no real conflict. Michael Druniak, including Lincoln himself, Daniel Day-Lewis. Behind Monica Lewinsky, the one and only Trey Songz is here. But Allison Lundergan Grimes, Gina De Jesus, when Gina De Jesus, Tea Party challenger Matt Bivens. People don't want to have their Social Security overall. The Republican savior, Mark Rubio's big night. In evolution and Galileo, this whole thing of Galileo, America's changed. Unless IT and Skillets, President Putin doing something similar back in, it won't change this fundamental fact about the GOP. Just how absurd these attacks is. Nearly 6 months after the dangerous traffic jam, the Thai military says, my friend for many years, Ilyana Van Zandt. There's nothing there.
And they gave this guy a TV show? Let's get back to our show.
Gene Baradelli behind enemy lines. And by the way, Lou, I know nobody, well, not nobody, but the people before when we were listening to the beginning of the show may have missed the plugs about you. Tell everybody about Red Nation Rising Radio, when it's on, how they can get in touch with you, and all that fun stuff.
So, Red Nation Rising, most people, hopefully your Twitter fans at least know, it's a hashtag on Twitter, been around for about 2.5 years. Millions of impressions a week, and we also have a radio show. Our chat room's very active because we have all those Twitter listeners. We have great guests, including you a couple of times, and it's Thursday night, K98 Talk, 8 p.m., and we let the chat room ask a lot of the questions, as many as they want to ask. We'll ask the guest, whoever that might be, and we've got Cameron Gray coming up this Thursday, so tomorrow night, 8 p.m.
So Thursday, 8
Thanks for letting me plug that
Gray
again.
From NRA on K98. So definitely check it out, and check it out on podcast on Spreaker, on Red Nation Rising. And when you're on Twitter, when you're not doing BEL_radio, check out hashtag Red Nation Rising. A lot of great conservatives and grassroots people out there, all banding together to try to make a difference in the election 2016 cycle. Lou, we're going to shift topics right now, and we're going to talk about what's happening this week on the East Coast. Well, and currently, as of right now, I believe he is in the United States. Pope Francis is here. I believe he's in Washington, going to be heading to the People's Republic of New York City in the near future. And he's going around, and I got to tell you, the tickets for this event are hotter than One Direction or whatever the boy band of the day is right now. It is heartening to see so many people flocking to see the Pope in America.
It is, but I can't remember that ever not being the case, Gene. Right?
No, and that's true. I mean, but I gotta say, there wasn't as much excitement when Pope Benedict came to America. I think the last Pope was, John Paul II was the one that brought this sort of feelings of, the feels, the love, the energy, the happiness, the peace. You didn't really get that too much from Pope Benedict, I don't think.
No,
I see
I
a comment
agree.
in the chat room saying that Pope Frankie is a mensch. And for those of you who are listening to this on podcast, we hope that everybody in the People's Republic of New York City and around the nation and the world had an easy fast during Yom Kippur. And to those listeners out there, I hope everyone had a solemn and blessed holiday. But the thing about this Pope, first of all, let me go on record. I love the guy. I think that he's a breath of fresh air to the papacy and what he brings. I see a lot of young people excited about being Catholic again. And that to me is a very good thing, no matter what his views are politically. But now that I've said that, his views politically do rub people the wrong way sometimes, Lou.
Well, you and I know as Catholics that his views politically really don't matter that much. That it's his view on the doctrine, it's his view on the faith that matters. That's where his infallibility kicks in, and not on climate change.
Absolutely, but that, the Pope will be going to address a joint session of Congress. And I gotta ask, is this proper for the Pope to address Congress and talk about a number of issues? I mean, I ask this in the context of, we know where he's from and what his upbringing is and the environment in which which influenced his life and his views, and that is, in South America, where it's not really the same political culture as it is here. Should he be bringing those, I'll say it, more progressive leftist views to give, those in Congress a little more oomph to kind of block whatever the conservative movement agenda is these days?
So what I'd like to see, I'm just going to tell you what I'd like to see from the Pope, is for him to turn those, what many people consider in this country, especially those liberal political views, into humanitarian views and project those toward Catholic charities rather than toward the UN or governments on the international stage. I think that's the Pope's role. However, the message would still be the same. And who's to say that that's not really what he's trying to do? I don't know that this guy really understands personally what he's doing. So I would look to especially, within the international leadership and the state leadership of the Vatican, for one thing, and then the UCCB on for you non-Catholics, the Conference of Catholic Bishops, who are his hosts. On the other hand, to really kind of question them, what were you thinking letting this happen? Because one, you should know better, but then he is the Pope, so basically what he wants to happen happens. So it's kind of hard to say, And as a Catholic, Gene, it's hard to question the Pope. You think, okay, well, I don't really agree, but maybe he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, who am I to tell the pontiff what
right.
to believe and what not to believe? But at the same time, let me put it this way: I'm a cafeteria Catholic. I'll show up on the major holidays, Easter, Christmas. I'll go to the major masses, especially the ones where the plenary indulgence is granted, and you get to walk out clean. That's what's appealing to me. But at the same when the Pope comes to America, what I want to hear from the Pope is a message of peace, a message of faith, and I want people to walk out inspired to do good in the world. Not necessarily to walk out and think, wow, we really need to get on that climate change thing. I think that's the role of the Pope. The Pope is there to inspire people to go out into the world and do good deeds and do good things. Not
and
to
that's
say...
No, that's exactly the humanitarian message that I was talking about. Inspire Catholics to do good, that inspires people to be Catholic.
Absolutely. And on the same token, while I don't want to hear the Pope talking about, climate control, I may want him to weigh in on funding abortions. Because that's something that, deals with the sanctity and the dignity of human life. And I may want to hear the spiritual views on that. Not necessarily the political rancor and saying where the money shouldn't go. But I do want to hear a message of that life itself is sacred and should be preserved at all costs. And, give a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge to, what's going on in this nation. And but I don't want to hear, I don't want to hear that he was a chemistry teacher in his native land, and I don't want to hear that he's an expert on science, and I don't want to hear things that are out of his lane. He may know, and listen, I'm an attorney. You don't want to hear me talking about engineering. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that type of statement I'm trying to make.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. And I mean, he is, like you say, he's the pontiff. We want to hear what he has to say about our faith more than anything. As Catholics, you want to hear messages of faith and hope and charity from the Pope. And I think that when he entangles those other things with the church, it almost, it almost recalls for me some of the not great things that have happened in the church were always because politics and the church were too entwined. So it's a little bit concerning from that perspective, but overall, I would look at the UCCB, the Council of Bishops, and say, what were you thinking? Why did you agree to allow him to come here and be a guest at the White House, which supposedly is going to have tons of people that don't agree with him? They basically set up a lobby, and Catholic Online actually had some good things to say about, why bring the pontiff to America to meet with people that are against everything that he is for and for everything that he's against? Or are they there to lobby him to try to change his mind? Well, good luck with that. They obviously don't know. But you also mentioned John Paul II. That's the kind of messages that he brought all over the world were the ones that we really want to hear from the Pope, which is, instead of going to Cuba and not meeting with dissidents and pretending that there weren't any, to stand up and say, treat these people the way they should be treated, because this is what is inhumane. So it's confusing for us, I think.
I think for me, what I'm most concerned about is the Pope becoming a political pawn in U.S. politics. I don't want the Pope to be the reason why Democrats will start turning to conservatives to say, hey, you see, the Pope is okay with this, you should be for this and change your position. And I don't want to see conservatives going to Democrats saying, see, this shouldn't be funded because the Pope said so. The Pope's message should not be politicized. You know what? I kind of disagree on one thing you said, that about the Pope should be, what were the cardinals thinking about by letting the Pope do this or do that? I think the Pope should meet with everybody. I think the Pope should talk to everybody. I think that the Pope should never be afraid to talk to anybody.
Right. He's not, though. He's not meeting with everybody. They've basically pretty much controlled who he's meeting with and who they want him to meet with. Just like in Cuba. He didn't meet with any dissidents in Cuba. That was, disturbing. The Pope always meets with the religious dissidents in Cuba. That was disturbing. I think that probably is what threw me more than anything. But But I think you're right. He should never be used as a political pawn. Religion should never be used as a political pawn. But boy, I can't remember